Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study on 26th of August, 2021. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading from Joshua 88, chapters 88 through 91, because he's going to reveal that, we did keep the law at one point, unlike the New Testament doctrine that says that JC had to come because the law was too hard for us to keep. So he has to bring his son. But we're going to read these chapters right here, and we're going to see that Israel did keep the law at one point. Okay, so with that being said, I didn't get a chance to get to it last night. That's why I'm just doing it tonight. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. This is a non-Messianic channel, and we're dealing with the Tanakh and the Torah, and the Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts. And so what I mean by non-Messianic is I don't subscribe, the people on this channel subscribe to the so-called Messiah in the New Testament. So with that, I'm going to say shalom and welcome everyone. And we're going to do our moment of silence for the Lord of Hosts and Yahweh and all that they are doing to bring about our deliverance from these the land of our enemies. Then we're going to do a prayer, songs, and then a current event. Oh Lord, we come before thee on this day that you have given unto us. We come honoring you and worshiping you. We come worshiping thee because of thy great steadfastness and might. Oh Lord, you delivered our forefathers out of Egypt and Babylon to show a great force. Oh Lord, you foretold that you would deliver us from the hands of our enemies, the Gentiles, just as your servant Daniel examined the books of Jeremiah and realized your coming. Oh Lord, you have opened our eyes to these books that have been hidden from us. And we, oh Lord, have discovered that you foretold the prophets that you are coming to deliver us. We are waiting and seeking you, O Lord, at this hour, seeking and waiting for your return. Carry not, O Lord, stretch forth thine hands upon our enemies, and scatter them. Come from thy holy habitation, and turn back our captivity. Peace be on you. Okay, I'll read the song. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading Psalm 10. It's a prayer for the overthrow of the wicked. Why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in the time of trouble? The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his false desire, and blesseth the covetousness whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he's puffed at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor. He lie in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. Arise, O Lord, O God, lift up thine hand, forget not thy humble. Wherefore doeth the wicked condemn God? He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. Thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite, to requite it with thy hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless. Break thou the arm of the wicked, of the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The heathens are perished out of his land. Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their heart. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth, may no more oppress. That's Psalms 10, and it's a prayer for the wicked, the overthrow of the wicked. Okay. Anybody got any current events?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that there was an explosion near Kabul Airport, 13 U.S. Got killed today.
Yeah, 2 Marines.
No, 13. They said
Oh,
13.
13? Okay. No, I heard 2. They must have just started counting.
Yeah, I said it was 13 last count. I heard.
Okay. That
Hey,
ain't good.
no, that ain't good.
All right. Somebody else had something?
I have one other thing. You heard of you guys heard of Stonehenge
Yeah.
and that monument in England?
Right.
Well, some scientists they conducted a test and they found out that the material is an ancient material and it's a form of quartz that doesn't erode or crumble. And I believe that has to do with the fallen angels. They had something to do with that Stonehenge and the
Right.
giants.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You ever heard of Merlin?
Yeah,
Right. So that's his origins is tied to that Stonehenge and the legend of King Arthur. All that's tied to Stonehenge. But you ever heard of the Druids?
yeah,
That's who was at the Stonehenge. They were wizards, but they was giants, and they wore that all white with the little pointed hat on.
uh-huh,
And so the thing is that when you start talking about faith, like I was saying, Christianity ain't nothing but a big old amalgamation of all these pagan religions, and each one of those pagan religions brings some kind of characteristic to the table. So faith came, what they talk about in the New Testament, came through the Druids. The Druids was big on faith, and so and as far as that, those stones, like I said, those fallen angels showed them that just as well as those obelisks and all that. They have the same type of material that's tied to those too. They have some kind of frequency or something that's coming off of them.
right. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
thought it was interesting because I just read that today,
right.
and they
Yeah,
were talking, that they have been studying this. I'm like, man, all of this stuff is coming out.
right. That's just like that. I don't know if you've seen that. They say that the Sahara Desert at one time was plush. It was like a rainforest at one time. Where they got this area over there in the Sahara Desert, got these stones. When you hit them, they ring like a bell. Did you
Wow.
ever saw that?
No, I ain't heard about
Yeah,
that.
right. And then the way they set up at one time, you can tell they was being used. You know, but they got a you know, it's not, they're not really stone. It's some kind of musical, you know, they got some kind of rhythm to them. Same way with the obelisk, and same way with those stones at the at Stonehenge.
Right, I know because I saw a video and it was like lightning was hitting the top of the obelisk.
Right. Yeah, they draw it. They draw lightning to it because of its molecular makeup.
Wow.
Right. So anybody could know that, but you know, fallen angels. I mean, you know, man don't know that. They showed them that. Yeah. So anybody else got anything? We got one couple right here. Let me get this. Yeah, this is the first one right here. This says that more companies are weighing penalties for unvaccinated workers. More companies are considering imposing financial penalties on workers who refuse to get the coronavirus vaccine, from added health care costs to withholding gym access, potentially adding to financial costs in addition to the severe health risk facing the unvaccinated. There's some. After Delta Airlines grabbed headlines Wednesday for saying it would charge unvaccinated workers an additional $200 monthly health care plan fee. A growing number of companies have been making inquiries with their legal counsels about asking unvaccinated workers to pay more for their health plans. So they closing in, read them on. Some companies are exploring whether they can withhold raises for unvaccinated workers, decline to cover those workers' COVID-19 related claims, or restrict their access to workplace amenities such as gym, lawyers, consultants who advise business. Consultants who advise business say employers are increasingly moving from luring workers to get their shots to using threats in the workplace. And there's something. It's
Right.
steady closing
Crazy.
in on everybody. Ain't that something?
Yeah, they started off giving you incentives. Yeah, we give you $100. Yeah, we gonna give you this, and now that ain't working. So now they going to the dirty tactics. That's just
Right.
like the devil.
Well, yeah, dropping the bomb. That let you know it's up. It's hammer time.
And then you got, they said it's like a whole bunch of people that are going to be retiring. I mean, a whole lot. Like I think they was in like 20 million, because they're like, forget that. So it's going to be a job shortage, and then they're doing like this, so they gonna lose money. I think people
Right.
gonna quit.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, this is something.
They're trying to
Okay.
back the people into a corner, you know.
Right. Yeah, they got it's something to the reason why they doing it, and they timeline running out. Let me play this right here. It's just something I saw. I mean, it's just a chosen seed. I don't know if you ever heard of this group, but I thought this 1-2 minute video was kind of interesting. Exalt his name, yeah. I will, yeah, 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 yeah. Y'all see he bro, no, Haiti is trouble. I didn't know it. This is crazy. Yeah, bro. You see me in the world together. Great, how are you? Oh, yeah, yeah. We got to talk to people. Shalom, man. Shalom, shalom, man. We go. Hey, how y'all doing? All right, brother?
like 30 minutes though. I gotta take it like. Well, while you're here, shout out all praise to the Most High Yah. So we got King Ron. Shout out to the Most High. My name is Eagle J. We got King Ron.
Yahuwah is my shield. It's He whom that I trust. Shalom, how you doing? You too. Sorry, I thought you had to get up. Oh, no. Just a little something. No, no problem.
Is that so?
That's beautiful. Remind me of how it was in Goshen, you know,
Okay.
eating and celebrating and stuff during the time of the plagues. But I didn't even know that faction of people was out there in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
That's what's
There's
up. That
some.
macaroni looking good though. I ain't gonna lie.
Right. There's some. Okay. Got right here. Like I said before, you know, times are getting close because, like I said, they're seeing that the world is dissolving in front of their face. So here goes some more of those examples there of that. Let me get it. Here we go.
So Amazon was building a facility in Windsor, Connecticut. And back in May, workers that was building this new Amazon facility was running across nooses. And they said it was about the 8th noose they encountered since construction on facility that started in late 2020. They said repeated occurrences forced Amazon to delay construction on several occasions and incited a great deal of tension, I say, among local residents. Now, close to 40% of the 28,733 residents of Windsor are Black, and about 9% of the residents are Hispanic or Latino. Now, I say the appearance of nooses has also sparked political organizing in recent months as workers in Windsor call attention to the racism they encountered on a day-to-day basis. They say they had a news conference recently, and they talked about, they said one of the workers said, I did witness Confederate flags, I said, on people's hats and on their cars, and I heard people, you know, using racial remarks. And they said despite the addition of the new security cameras, and Amazon offered a $100,000 offer for any tips leading to an arrest, law enforcement officials have been able to determine the source of the hateful symbols, as the FBI now works with the Windsor Police Department to locate the culprits. Now, I said many residents and activists in Windsor, as they are demanding Amazon and local officials take these developments seriously. Now, I say their concerns mirror those of across the nation since 2015. Black workers in various states, including Iowa, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Maryland, have reported finding more than 50 nooses at construction sites. And saying the continued appearance of nooses in the workplace and other private and public spaces reveal a much prevalence of, white supremacy in American life and culture. You have to understand, white supremacy is the culture of America. Yes, it is. Because as long as the Mzungu runs it, white supremacy is his culture. Now, I said the news is, they say quintessential. They say it's deeply troubling, but it is a white supremacist American symbol, and it's persistent to American life and culture today. Attests to the fact that white supremacy always have been mainstream. Of course, it has. I mean, they use the Mzungu-owned media to downplay, to distract, to do everything they can. Now, we know nooses was used as an act of terrorism with the lynching of Black people throughout history. And this country, even in 2021, with a Democrat-controlled House a Democrat-controlled Senate and a Democrat president still won't pass the anti-lynching law. And you wonder why black folks is very pissed off right now? Now, if you go to my Instagram, you know, of course, we had a lot of slow people in the back of the room respond to that, you know, and I will call you slow because you know how I talk. Obviously, you know that I'm not affiliating myself with no party, but hey, if I see things coming down the pipe, I'm gonna tell you what it is. So, you know, the thing that I keep saying all the time about Biden, he's gonna be a one-term president, and Trump is the Republican nominee. He's gonna win again, and they just had an article talking about that basically black folks and women, which means Mzungu female, regret voting for Biden, and they say they'll go vote for Trump the next time. And I've been saying that it's going to be either people not going to vote or it's going to be a protest vote for Trump because they want to show the Democrats that you've been giving all this money and everything to everybody else, and you said screw the black community, and you're doing it openly at that. Now, we can't get an anti-lynching bill, but yet this is the party that black folks lined up for. You would think that you get the anti.
Okay. Wait, before you scroll away, will you sign my petition to?
Bill, and if you even put in that anti-lynching bill, even if you hang in nooses to intimidate people, you'll get charged federally. That'll put a stop to it. But that's not freedom of speech. That's terrorism. Now, you know, people that had a Confederate, flag, all of that, like I say, in my opinion, I always say that belongs in a museum. They need to be flown publicly. But these people, love to try to terrorize black people. And you have to fight back. You fight back if it comes to something physical. Defend your life at every step of the way. Lawsuits is another way of doing it. Make sure, brothers and sisters, when you're on these jobs and see this, use your cell phone. That is the greatest agent of justice that you have. Use that cell phone and upload that to all your social media outlets. Send it to everybody that you can. Like I said, don't wait on somebody like me and many others in the new black media to finally get it. You put it out, because when it comes to you putting it out, that's usually how it gets started.
Okay. Anybody got any comments?
He's right, but America ain't never loved us. That's why they got to pay.
Okay. Right. Notice how he said that they won't pass the anti-lynching bill. You got they got both houses and the president is Democrat, and they ain't passed reparations.
Right. And then the Asians get a bill. They take care of that in a minute. Right. Come on now.
That's what they did for, putting all that dancing in the street for Biden, So right. If you said something about that, like the people who were trying to get me to vote for Biden and all of this, and but I bet to this day they still will not admit that they made a mistake. Right. They'll still pick up something that he did that was right, or he hasn't been able to do it yet, or whatever. They still don't get it.
Ain't that so?
The Most High say that Israel is his battle axe. So while y'all out there talking about nooses and stuff, please understand that the hand of the Most High is strong, and we his people, and he will use us to beat y'all ass. And that's what's going to happen. So y'all can come and do what y'all want to do now, but when the time come and the Most High strengthen us, please be prepared for the mighty Judah. Period.
Okay. Ain't that so? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, yeah, check this out. I thought this is kind of interesting because, where a lot of Israelites are headed, they're trying to come together and check this out. It's really crazy.
Shalom, family. I want to talk about a video that was shared with me by Sister Sue. Something that happened in the hood that I find very disturbing. I knew a sister personally who this happened to as well a few years ago. But I probably won't get no type of backlash from this story because I'm talking about black folk. So usually when you talk about black folk and what we doing and what we all about and what's going on in the hood, you don't get no backlash because nobody really cares about black folk anyway, right? But anyway, the story was it was a video that a sister uploaded to Facebook, and this woman was in tears because she had a community garden apparently, and she was growing all this food. She said there were pear trees, and it was just food everywhere. And she had been working on this project. I forget what she named the project. The project had a particular name, but she had been working on this project for years. And then, lo and behold, this story really sounds like a replay of what happened to a friend of mine. I'm telling you, it's really sick what happened, but these people came and just yanked up all of her food, destroyed all of her plants, destroyed all of her garden, all of the fruit that were on the trees. They just destroyed everything. Malicious destruction of food, property, time, effort, work. I mean, it was so bad that this woman said she's finished. She said, I am finished. I'm done with this. I am done. And as the tears were rolling, I could see the pain in her eyes because this was a passion of hers, something that she was doing to help people. And we too have been in situations where we've tried to help so called black people, and the help was not appreciated. This is the kind of thing that makes it difficult for even our own people, for so-called black people to even want to deal with other black folk, because when you have things like this happen, a person who don't value good food, fruits and vegetables, just because you don't care about it, don't make it bad for other people. I think it's very important that we begin to grow our own food, but some of our people can't catch that vision. And so instead of just stepping back on the sidelines, you go in and you destroy this woman's hard work. You destroy all of this food. What kind of demon entered your heart to cause you to do something so ignorant? I understand the judgment of the Most High that falls on so-called black people. I totally get it. This is why we did White It Out Part 5, the curse of generational curses, because we needed to highlight some of the things that cause the curses to cling to us. And a lot of it deals with, the biggest part is our disobedience, unbelief, and serving of other gods, you see. But another part of it is how we treat one another. You see, we're also focused on forgiving enemies outside of us, but when it comes to those inside of us, we just go about doing as much as we can to damage and hurt each other. I'm sure just about everybody who watches this video know what I'm talking about. Have probably experienced another black person putting a knife in your back, twisting and turning, and then yanking it out. I'm sure many of you have experienced that. I know we have. And it's unfortunate that in this day and time, with all that we're going through, we still have to talk about this kind of thing. That our people are that detached and withdrawn from reality to where you would go in and destroy somebody's food, destroy their garden. All of it. To where this woman's heart is so heavy and so vexed to where she has to take to social media, take to Facebook, upload a video, just tears running down like a river because of what some malicious, hateful people did to her.
Okay. So what you think?
It's just like she said, what demon entered into your heart to do something like that? That's so disgusting. And not only, is it disturbing that we have to go and have to deal with our enemies and these heathens around about us that, inflict their evil upon us, that we also have to take that from our own people as well. Like seriously, I know we had started a block club over in my neighborhood, and one day I was trying to figure out, why the ladies that was a part of the block club, why, they wasn't no longer, picking up trash and things like that. And they told me that a drug dealer, like high ranking over on the area, threatened them and told them that he would kill them if he caught them out there picking up trash again.
Mm.
Seriously. And
Yes.
that's crazy, ain't it? Like the neighborhood was really like coming up. They were planting flowers and everything. It was bringing love and joy back to that side of the block. And to have somebody that's your own come up to you and threaten your life because you cleaning up the neighborhood.
Right. Like she said, that's demon activity. And that's something. Yeah. So this is everybody should know Dr. Arcana by now. We're gonna see what if she tuned in with what y'all doing or not right here. Okay. Let this play for a few minutes.
But Africans, we are using other names. Like if you come to Africa, you find some people called Washington, called there's African who are called European name, French names, English names, and many foreign names. So all in all, let us now listen our main speaker, Dr. Ikana Chomboy, when elaborating this, why Africans, we need to use our African name. And you will hear very keen and in deep details from our mother, Dr. Ikana Chomboy. Wow. So let us listen from him, from her, sorry.
But she's going to tell you what kingdom. You see, the kingdom is really what's more important for you to know. Remember, the countries were a figment of the imagination of the colonizers when they met at the Berlin Conference. They arbitrarily divided us based on what they wanted where. They arbitrarily divided us based on how effectively they could disperse us and make people who were once one, couple of generations, they no longer know each other because they speak different languages. They now are being colonized by different colonizers. It was a design to completely destroy the continent. So yes, Zambia is as shaped as it is because Leopold wanted a little bit more copper, so he just carved out a piece of land. That's why we have the shape of Zambia today. Mount Kilimanjaro is in both countries simply because the granddaughter to the Queen of England wanted part of Kilimanjaro, and grandmother said, oh, just move the border. So really where you come from as a country, it's okay to know, but just remember, that only came into play after the Berlin Conference of 1885. But what you really need to know that can never change is your kingdom. So when you tell me that I'm from Cameroon and I belong to the Bamileke people, then I can tell you how powerful the Bamileke were. So you can sit at the table with your children and tell them that we are descendants of the Bamileke people. And the Bamileke were known for A, B, C, D, E. When you sit down around the table with your children and say we're from the Benin Kingdom, tell them about the warriors, about the powerful people who fought against the colonizers. They have buried that history. They don't want us to tell our children that we fought the resistance viciously. Many of the resistance movements were led by women. Tell your children about those powerful women because it is their blood, it is their DNA that is running in not only your veins, but the veins of your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come. Our children must know that history. So today with our sister Gina, we are here to talk about how we can know you by your name. We are here to talk about how we can take you back home so we can complete the journey the ancestors left 400 years ago. That journey is yet to be completed. Today, in a unified way, we are going to begin that journey of reconnecting with home, of finding out exactly where we come from so we can re-anchor ourselves. So when anybody tries to mess with us, you're like, are you kidding me? Do you know who I am? And you tell them who you are, because you would have completed the journey, because you would know who you are and what you stand for. The DNA testing that Gina Page through Ancestry DNA is going to do, they will give you not only the country where you come from, but the kingdom where you come from. We've also asked them that after they give you the kingdom where you come from, after they identify the kingdom you come from, they also send you the top 10 to 20 names from that kingdom. So you can choose your name. So when you come and say, my name is Kweku, when you come in and give us any name in Africa, you can say, oh yes, we know these people. They are from this area. You can choose your name, use it as a nickname. Some might choose to just completely change your name. It's up to you, but remember one thing. If you are a descendant of the formerly enslaved, the name you have today only takes you to the last slave owner who owned your ancestors. It only takes you to a very dark place. There is nothing good as you trace your heritage. It's nothing but pain. And after you've gone through your DNA and you've read what your ancestors have done, you end up at a place that breaks you down. You end up at a place that breaks you down, which is the plantation, where your ancestors suffered, labored, and in many cases were killed. Gotta move from that place, because your history goes far beyond that. Today we are moving you away from the plantation, because you have a much richer, bigger history. We don't want you to trace it. We don't want you to trace your history to a plantation of nothing but suffering. The journey of true healing and true discovery, that journey of going back home begins today. I can't thank you enough, Sister Gina. What we're planning on doing after this session is begin the process of doing your DNA testing for those who wished. December 2nd to 13th, we're going to be going to Ghana. We're going on a trade fair. For those of you who are not aware, go to the website for ADDI. All the information is there. But on the 5th of December, to be exact, we're going to have a naming ceremony at the Kingdom of Asebu. Those of you who would have discovered what kingdom you come from, please remember the significance of the area of Cape Coast is that 80%, if not more, of the children of Africa who were taken out of Africa as slaves out of West Africa, they were all pulled in Ghana. And in Ghana, they left Africa on 2 ports. One port was at the Cape Coast. They called them Cape Coast castles. We call them Cape Coast dungeons. The other one is about 20 miles away. That's the Elmina dungeons. They call them Elmina castles. So regardless of where you find yourself coming from, just remember, 80 to 90% chance that your ancestors left Africa through one of the 2 ports. Those who were sent to North America, they left through the Cape Coast dungeons. Those who went to the Caribbean and South America, they left through the Elmina castles. So by going back to the Cape Coast area, to the Asebu Kingdom, you're going back to that area, that part of Africa, that soil that your ancestors last set foot on the African continent prior to being shipped off to the Americas. It is...
Okay. Any comments? Is anything ringing a bell?
This is good.
Okay. Let me let a little more play.
Therefore fitting that you go back to that place, stand at the edges of the Atlantic facing the Americas, and tell those slavers once and for all that while you may have succeeded for over 400 years, ultimately you are the victor, because you would have returned home back to Africa. Because on December 5th, you are going to shed off your slave name, your plantation name, and you're going to wear that coat that tells us who you are. You're going to stand up tall. The king of Asebu is going to name you so we can know you by your name.
Okay. Any comments? Anybody have any comments on that?
I think that there's a big difference between African names and Hebrew names. I know she never talks about Hebrew Israelites. So for me, I will pass on the African name. With that, she just always talk about African, never Hebrew Israelites. So I know she's not, awakened when it comes to that. So that's what really caught my attention is she was saying African names.
Right. So I got a couple of, go ahead.
Right. I was going to say the same thing, Michelle. We already know our name is Israel.
Right.
Because aren't we from the royal house of David? We?
Okay.
I'm listening to this guy and he was saying that specifically we were over there on the West Coast, David's house, and then they took us and scattered us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was on the West Coast, and they were brought over here. But like she was saying, 8 out of 10, your chances are you came through the Amino Castle, or you came through the other castle. What's that?
Was it Cape Coast Castle?
Cape Coast and the Amino Castle, yeah.
Right.
So the thing is the reason why I'm playing this is, I got several videos, on this right here, how when we came over here, when they got us and they put us on the boat, we had Israelite names,
right,
showing the manifestos. So they changed the name to cover up our identity. And we watched several videos on how they used the boule to hoodwink us and trick us, right?
Right.
So look what they're doing. They're trying to change our names. We didn't find out who we are. Let's look at it. So, Isaiah 44, 1-5, he says, "Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen." This the Lord's doing. And we already see this already manifesting itself right now. He says, "Thus says the Lord, that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee." See that? "Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jezreel, whom I have chosen, for I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, floods upon dry ground, and I will pour my spirit out upon thy seed, and my blessings upon an offspring. They shall spring up as among the grass, as the willows by a watercourse." And 5, "One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name," see that, "of Jacob. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of." We doing that. So what they trying to do? They trying to change our names again. They don't want us to know, or they don't want us to be Israelites.
Right.
So like I said, she exposing her hand.
Right. Yeah.
Exposing her hand. So that's boule action. I was telling you about watching that video, The Puppet Master, and look at all the different tentacles that's coming from that. That's what a lot of people not understanding about that. They've been hoodwinking us for years and years and years, bringing these black faces on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
We get snowed in by that. Like I said, Martin Luther King, W. Du Bois, all them, you know, they brought them on the scene. Y'all ain't bring them on the scene. And look at the repercussions of what they formulated when they brought them on the scene. We was over in Chicago was popping, and Harlem was popping. So King came, and then they came pushing immigration. What they call that?
Segregation.
Was that?
You said segregation?
No. We were separated from them. They wanted us
They
to
wanted
be,
integration.
Right.
yeah, they immigrated. They wanted to immigrate with them, and that's what happened. Look where we at. That was the last thing we should have did. And then we was already doing what the Most High said, was keep ourselves separated.
Right.
And so we see how Harlem was going, and look where you had places all over America that when we was separated from them, that was flourishing.
Yeah.
Right, but King said at the end, he said he afraid that he sold his people, you know, had to run into a burning house, and then they took him out.
Well, right. So
King, yeah.
right. So like I was saying before, you can't. I mean, you can't give no pass on that because I mean, you read the scriptures, you would have known that. But you know, what I mean, you can't. You know, that's a cop out. You know what I'm saying? That's just like Manasseh. You know, you come in and build a grove inside the temple where the Lord hosts at. Come on, you can't get no pass.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So then you know that's a cop out, like I said before. You know, like all these we seen last night, all these brothers throwing all these old symbols. You know, when the Most High come back, then you're gonna jump back and say, you know, you don't get no pass, brother. You know what you was doing. Come on, you ain't going to that blindly. You know what you was doing because you throwing all these signs and symbols. You know what you're doing. So yeah, it's a cop out. But so like I said before, this is our hand. You know, the Most High revealing their hand because they're trying to take us up. He already told us we're going back to the West Coast, but you trying to take us back to the West Coast and make us African.
Right.
Same thing you did when you brought us over here. You know, on the roots. You beat the man half to death and made him and gave him another name. Beat him to he said the name.
Still trying to keep us from knowing our identity. They want us to believe that we all are Africans. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that you know, you exposing their hand, and you have to see that. Mm-hmm. Right there in the scriptures. Okay. So let me get out of this. I think I got something else. One more. Let me see. Yeah. So I want to look at this right quick, and then we're gonna do a little Q&A. Open up for the Q&A, and then you know, it's back to this exposing the churches again. This is them with like I said, you know, they say that, you know, that John the Baptist, a Christian, any Christian, first of all, like I said, you have to understand how they set you up. They lied and said that, you know, John the Baptist is the greatest prophet ever lived, but the most I tell you in Numbers that Moses is the greatest prophet ever lived. Let's look at that. I don't want to quote nothing, getting half the quote things and that. So he says, and let me get make sure that's Numbers. So we see it right here. This is what Yahweh said, but they gonna tell us something else, and we going for the okey doke. So this says right here. Deuteronomy. Yeah, I mean Deuteronomy 34. And I'm starting at verse 9. I killed two birds with one stone while we here, because some people might not never heard this. So it said that when the Most High said that he was going to raise up a prophet like him unto Moses, they didn't equate that. They said it's JC. That prophecy was tied to JC. But we're going to see right here that he says in 34:9, Joshua, the son of Nun, see that? Joshua, the son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom, right? We know what wisdom is, that's the Lord of hosts. For Moses had laid hands upon him, and the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and he did as the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua, the person that he raised, that he's gonna raise up from among the people, like unto Moses, is Joshua. So what's the situation? He finna kill Moses. He took Moses up on Mount Nebo and put him to sleep. So they void of a leader. He ain't looking for no leader 500 years from now. He need a leader right now. He's gonna put Moses to sleep. So ain't no way in hell it's Jesus. So we see right here is how they fumble with that verse. So in 9 says, Joshua, he's telling you right here, the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, and Moses had laid hands upon him, and the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. They go you answer. Now they tell you that ain't nobody greater than John the Baptist, right? Well, here go verse 10. And there arose not, it's the Lord of hosts talking, there arose not a prophet since, that means after Moses, since in Israel likened unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. So what are you talking about? John the Baptist, like I said, you just wrote that. I'm sitting there with this full of the spirit of the Most High, and it's garbage. You just wrote that. So we see right here. So where I'm going is, then they say John the Baptist is nobody greater than John the Baptist, but each Christian, every Christian that's in the kingdom of God is greater than John the Baptist. See that? So what the hell are you putting what Moses is? You done push Moses all the way back to the end of the line. We ain't all that stuff ain't registering. You know, it's garbage. He told you right here in 10, Deuteronomy 34:10, and there arose not a prophet since, that word ain't there on for the hell of it, since in Israel, likened unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Ain't nobody coming greater than Moses. See that? So why is he doing that? Like I said, it's a think tank, Edomite think tank, because he gonna baptize JC. So they gotta set John the Baptist up. Like he all that, because he finna baptize JC. Yeah. So they ain't nothing but and both of them ain't nothing but figments of the Edomite's imagination. See that? So kill that. No, that ain't working. Okay, so let me get over here where I was at. I got a sidebar. Okay, I didn't put that in there, so let me go move to something else. This is we're gonna play a little bit of it, and we go from there. Okay, this is a video that says it's some of my people. The name of the video. If you want to watch it, I'm gonna play some of it. It's gonna show you how these people are out there. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm having the same problem I had Tuesday night. Roaming outside. Let me get it. This is some of my people. So this is supposed to be a guide for the second acres. We're gonna let a little bit of it play.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So I want to give a shout out to Go Black to Africa. I like what he's doing out there, standing up for righteousness, exposing all of the rainbow colors. things like that. And speaking his mind, I really like that. I really like that, brother. Right. So we're going to talk about, as we usually do on this channel, right? We're going to talk about prophecy and, the second Exodus, right? Is it near? I guess that's the question, right? Is it near? Because understand, the scriptures give us a lot of signs we're supposed to be looking for, right? And, we can't really put it like on a day. We can identify, it's at midnight. But, the scripture says, when you see these things, know that your redemption draweth nigh. What redemption? Whose redemption? I thought we were born again once we believe, right? So the scripture says in Matthew 16, 2-4, he replied, when evening comes, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning, today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah. Yeshua then left them and went away. So there's a lot of things going on today, a lot of disagreements, a lot of fighting, a lot of arguments. It's real interesting because, I was on one of my, fellow Israelite brothers' channels, supporting his channel. And one of his moderators, she got mad at me, right? She came out with 2 different accounts. And then she came out with her moderated account, saying, Cobra, you this, tell this, da 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 da. Right? I'm like, I don't even know you like that, right? But here's the thing, if I've offended you, I apologize. Really, really. I know I have my ways sometimes, and if I've offended you, I apologize. But trust me, just with my personality, trust me, I'm going to match the same energy you bring. So a lot of time it's not me, it's you. Right? Sometimes we don't realize that the way we come at somebody triggers that person. Right? Now, I'm working on myself. I'm not perfect. Don't get it twisted. I'm not perfect. And like I say, I apologize if I've offended you in any way. But sometimes you have to watch how you approach people, how you come to them. And some people come disrespectful. Right? And when they come disrespectful, my personality is to check them. Sometimes I don't. I get proud of myself when I don't check them. I'm working on myself, family. I'm working. And the Most High is working on me. I'm not perfect. I got my issues. I ain't gonna lie. I know that already. But, that particular moderator, she felt good because she was able to put me in timeout. I'm glad you felt good putting me in timeout. That's good because I put people in timeout. Right? But, it is what it is. And we got to get past those things because of the times we're living in. I mean, we can't be fighting each other. Let the Gentiles fight the Gentiles. Right? That's what we need to do. But understand, I don't agree with everybody, but, I'm going to try to get along with you if I can. Now, if you're teaching, the Mormons our book and America's our homeland, and I can't really work with you too well. Right? So anyway, the Bible says that all of these signs are going to happen. And Yeshua said, when you see these signs, know that your redemption draweth nigh. So we're going to look at this from a viewpoint, right, of the pseudepigraphia. Because we've been through what we call canon a lot. And I'm going to do this a little differently. Although we're going to go through and look at some news items, right? We're going to try to compare what it says. So I'm probably, I think the best way for me to do this is to go back and forth between the pseudepigraphia, which is the Apocalypse of Abraham. If you haven't read the Apocalypse of Abraham, I recommend it. It's good reading. It's good reading. Now, remember, we also had, before we get there, is Genesis 15:13, which talks about the 400-year prophecy. And Apocalypse of Abraham adds clarity to that. We've been through that before. We talked about it in the past. So let's look at the Apocalypse of Abraham, and then we're going to look at some stuff. All right. I hope y'all can read that. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Maybe that's better. Oh, that's too big. How's that, family? Y'all can see that? All right. So let's see. All right. And while he was still speaking, I found myself on the earth, and I said, Eternal Mighty One, I'm no longer in the glory in which I was above, but what my soul desired to understand, I do not understand in my heart. And he said to me, Abraham, I shall tell you what your heart desired. For you have sought to know the 10 plagues which I prepared against the heathen. And I prepared them beforehand after the passing of the 12 hours on earth. Hear what I tell you. It will be thus. The first, distress from much violence. All right, distress from much violence. I think what I'm going to do is, I think I might do it that way instead of just reading the whole thing. All right, so distress from much violence. Let's look at that right quick. Right. All right, so distress from much violence. All right. So we know all of the protests and all that going on around the world, and what we're talking about today is subsets of information. I mean, I can't even go through all the data. I remember back in the day when we were looking for prophetic fulfillments, and it's like every minute now. All right, so Portland protesters clash in wild shootout after Proud Boys reunion. The streets of Portland turned into the Wild West on Sunday night when a man wearing a purple scarf and tan boonie hat crossed over a garbage can and opened fire on a group of demonstrators. The gunman, identified by Oregon cops as Dennis G. Anderson, also appeared to dodge a volley of gunfire during the dust-up in the downtown Portland. The fracas followed the Proud Boys reunion in an abandoned Kmart parking lot earlier in the day. No injuries were reported in the shooting. Anderson was taken into custody shortly after the shooting and charged with unlawful possession of a firearm and unlawful use of the weapon.
So, anybody had any kind of encounter with the Apocalypse of Abraham? Anybody read some of that, or you got the book?
I read it a while back. I had the PDF.
Okay. What'd you get out of it?
It was good from what I can remember, but I would have to refresh.
Right. So what was going on in there was the Lord of Hosts was being identified. And so, like I was saying before, back to thinking like a Hebrew. See, he's not thinking like a Hebrew because he ain't see none of that. So he just mentioned. I was telling you about his things that's going on that I don't really talk about it until it's presented. Most High opened the door for it to be presented. So I was telling you how Abraham can't be prophesying about. Abraham, way when he existed, he jumping over the Babylonian captivity, all these other 13 captivities, and he jumped all the way to 1619. And it's holes in there. For as I'm concerned, I don't really talk about it. But in the book of Apocalypse of Abraham, Michael is coming back and forth. He tell you, it ain't JC. He don't see that though, but Michael's coming back and forth. Yahweh telling him to go and get Abraham because it's time for Abraham to be taken up. So Michael comes to get him, but Abraham ain't ready to go. So Michael knows the relationship that Abraham had with Yah. So he's going back and forth. He on the earth, and he back on the right hand side of the Father. He's showing you who on the right hand side of the Father. It's Michael, the Lord of Hosts. So he back down on earth talking to Abraham, back up there with Michael, what the Lord of Hosts said. So he just read in the Apocalypse of Abraham, he said, I have just revealed to you the 10 plagues. What I'm gonna do to them with the 10 plagues. So where the 10 plagues happen at?
Egypt.
See that? So he's telling you right there. Well, the prophecy that's in Genesis 15 is talking about Egypt. But you know, I can't. You know, that's one of them things I can't talk to them about. Like with JC, you gotta milk certain people you can talk to that about. You can handle that. So he's telling them that Abraham was prophesying about Egypt. He getting ready to pass. The Most High revealing him what's gonna happen to his descendants after he passed. And they ended up, Joseph went first, then the other ones came, they went to Egypt. That's the we talking about. And did they come out with great substance? When they went to Egypt, they come out with great substance.
Yes.
That's what Abraham talking about.
And in Jasher too, I think.
Yeah.
It picks up and it says that was the 400 year. Right. I was like, what?
That Abraham talking about. So that's right. Two witnesses right there, but you're never gonna see none of that if you're not dealing with these books. And not only that, if you're not thinking like a Hebrew, you ain't he'll never see that because he's too busy worrying about JC and what JC doing. And I guarantee you he'd have been to seminary because he's steady trying to bring JC and everything, and he can't see none of that. But that's a prime example right there. What I was talking about, there's so much information, and that's why so many people hollering that these books they're not legitimate because they ain't thinking like a Hebrew. That's why they can't see that these books are legitimate because they Hebrew Christian. They just told them right there. There ain't no 10 plagues. It's only one place the 10 plagues happened there. That should ring a bell when he read it. Okay. So yeah, I'm just giving you some examples of how, you know. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to, that video was some of my people. If you want to watch it, you know, in your own time. I think it's like hour and something. So I'm gonna open up for some comments and questions. Anybody got any? And then I'm gonna go into Jasher 88 and through 81 through 91. Anybody got any comments or questions about anything before I go into this? Any questions about something they came across?
Well, I wanted to tell you that I read in Zechariah this morning and yesterday. Well, this morning, and Zechariah 14 was talking about the Feast of Tabernacles and how we are going to be able to do it when the Most High come back. So it was just extra confirmation on the lesson that you had taught yesterday about the feast days and things like that. So that was really nice.
Okay, yeah. He's gonna come back behind me if you speaking truth. He's gonna come behind me and validate it. That's a must. Yeah. So yeah. So anybody else got anything? I'm gonna start reading that.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, can you explain to me who is Moab? Is it a place? Is it a person? Who is Moab?
So when when Most High went and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, right? He sent two angels and got Lot and his family, right?
Right.
Well, Lot's wife looked back, so she turned into a pillar of salt where all was left was Lot and his two daughters. And they took them outside the city and set them up on the side of a mountain, a cave. Well, Lot and his two daughters thought that when they saw the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, they thought the whole world had been destroyed. So they came up with a plan to advance with Lot's seed. So they got Lot drunk, and both of them slept with Lot. And each one of them had a son. One had the Moabites, that's Moab, and the other one had Ammon. So Moab and Ammon came about from an ancestral relationship. That's why he's telling them don't intermingle with the Moabites and Ammonites.
Okay.
So Moab is a man, and Ammon is a man.
Okay,
They
so
send them a lot.
okay. Because you know, in Jeremiah 48:29,
Right.
it talks about Moab. So because I'm wondering, because wouldn't Moab be like the last beast? Is
Now
that
it's
the
got
same people?
you got a, like I was saying before in the very beginning, you got a man called Adam, then you got a race of people called Adam, then you got a man called Israel, you got a nation called Israel, you got a man called Moab, you got a nation called Moab, you got a man called Ammon, you got a nation called Ammon.
Okay, so let me ask like this. So Moab, would they be the Chinese people?
Well, that's what they're saying. Yeah. Well, that's what they're saying. But you have to understand that they was originally people of color. But after the Vikings and the Europeans came over to that region, people started a complexion change.
Okay, so because the last beast is China, right? The last head.
Yeah, the tenth head of the fourth beast, right?
So wouldn't that be Moab?
Yeah, you can say that it's part of it, but China is Moab is more or less a subgroup of the Chinese.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got Japanese, you got Chinese, Japanese, you got those people I was telling you about, Genghis Khan. Those people, they the ones where you get the Indian from.
Right.
Yeah. So those Genghis Khan Asian like mongrels. They was mongrels. They came across and ended up in South America, and they intermingled with those Folsom people. I told you, the black people. That's how you get the Red Indian. That's how you get the Red Indian. So it's a mixture of blacks and Asians. That's how you get the Red Indian.
Then they call them Mongoloids.
Yeah, Mongoloids, right.
Right. Okay, so then that wouldn't have nothing to do with Moab, has nothing to do with Daniel 9:25 and 27.
No. Nah, that's Greeks.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, my second question. Mingled people in Jeremiah, when it talks about the mingled people. I looked it up because you know they had the low number and it said the Arabs. Is that who that is?
Right. It's in Jasher. When Abraham died, I mean when let me see who that was. When Abraham died, and then Abraham had got a second wife. He got after Sarah died, he married Cook, and she had a bunch of boys. They list them. Midian. That's why Abraham had that conversation with Jethro, because Jethro, who had the knowledge of the Most High too, he got it from Abraham. He didn't want to tell Abraham Moses how to put the people in groups of 10s, 50s, and all that, and have them to judge the people like that, rather than all the work being on him. But he got that information because he was ascended from Abraham through Cook. So anyway, when Abraham died, all them boys, all his sons from Cook, Ishmael, all of them came to Abraham's funeral. He called all of them to him before he died, and he gave all of them gifts, and then he gave his blessing and all his belongings to Isaac. Well, it tells you in Jasher that they all mingle together after that. The Arabs, the mingle people.
So these are the people that was in the East.
Right, the Arabs. That mean mingled. They all mingled. Ishmael, Midian, all them sons came to Abraham from Cook. They all intermingled together. That's who over there right now in the Middle East. And that's why the Most High said they're going to be a wild people. And every man's hand going to be against them, and their hand going to be against every man. And that's what we're looking at today.
Okay.
The Taliban, and all them folks.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that like the people over there, the Afghanistanis, all of those people
Right.
that we're looking at now?
That's the Mingo people.
That's the Mingo people.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay, we'll start reading. Well, the reason I'm reading this right here is because of, like I said, the narrative is, which is a lie, is that we never kept the law, and that just like that's the whole narrative. That's how they used that plot to bring in JC. So he always had a son from the very beginning. Him being an all-knowing God, knowing they weren't gonna never keep the law, he had a son already, in his bosom that he's gonna bring and come and die on the cross, because nail the law to the cross. So we're gonna pick it up in it's a lot more meat in here too. That's one of the reasons why I'm reading it too. Got a lot of dots that's being connected. So I'm starting in chapter 88, and it says, and it was after the death of Moses that the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, saying, rise up, pass the Jordan to the land which I have given to the children of Israel, and thou shalt make the children of Israel to inherit the land. So, like I just showed you, it's a second witness. That the liars that when he said, I'm going to raise up one like unto Moses in Deuteronomy, they took that, and like I said, typology, and they said that was Moses was a type of Jesus. So the person he's going to raise up later on, 500 years later, was that prophecy was Jesus. But we see right here again, what I showed you earlier, this is another version of it. And it was after the death of Moses. You see that? Because he killed Moses on Mount Nebo. So he need somebody to take Moses' place, liken unto Moses. Right now, he don't need him 500 years later. So he says, and as it was, see that? Because he referring to the prophecy. As it was after the death of Moses, that the Lord of hosts, said to Joshua. There go the person we're looking for right here. He said to Joshua, the son of Nun, saying, rise up, pass the Jordan to the land which I have given to the children of Israel, and thou, Joshua, see that? Not JC. And thou shalt make the children of Israel to inherit the land. You got to do something with him. This verse killing it. So it says, 3, every place upon which the soles of your feet shall tread shall belong to you. From the wilderness of Lebanon unto the great river, the river of Pirah, shall be your boundaries. No man shall stand up against thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. Only be strong and of good courage to observe all the law. Here we go. See that? He's telling Joshua, be of good courage to observe all the law which Moses commanded thee. Turn not from the way either to the right or to the left, in order that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest. We're going to see that happened. So that killed the narrative that these Edomites had set up with JC about the reason why he had to come. So 5, and Joshua commanded the officers of Israel, saying, pass through the camp and command the people, saying, prepare for yourselves provisions for 3 days more. You will pass the Jordan and possess the land, right? So, and the officers of the children of Israel did so, and they commanded the people, and they did all that Joshua commanded them. Joshua sent 2 men to spy out the land of Jericho, and the men went and spied out Jericho. And at the end of 7 days, they go to 7 days, 6 days, and then a Shabbat. See that? At the end of 7 days, they came to Joshua in the camp and said to him, the Lord has delivered the whole land into our hands, and the inhabitants thereof are meted with fear because of us. And it came to pass after that Joshua rose up in the morning, see that? In the morning, early in the morning, and all Israel with him, and they journeyed from Shittim, and Joshua and all Israel with him passed the Jordan. And Joshua was 82 years old when he passed the Jordan with Israel. So let's look at that. So I told you Most High came in the cool of the day and dealt with Adam. The Lord of hosts came in the cool of the day and he wrestled with Jacob. Now we see right here, when you think it like a Hebrew, they entered into the land of Israel in the cool of the day. See that? We ain't gonna fumble with it. It says, and at the end of 7 days, they came to Joshua in the camp and said unto him, the Lord has delivered the whole land into our hands, and the inhabitants thereof are immediate with fear because of us. And it came to pass after that Joshua rose up early in the morning, in the cool of the day, and all Israel with him, and they journeyed from Shittim, and Joshua and all Israel went with him past the Jordan, and Joshua was 82 years old when he had passed the Jordan with Israel. And the people went up from Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped in Gilead and in the eastern corner of Jericho. And all the children of Israel kept the Passover in Gilead and in the plains of Jericho on the 14th day of the month, as they were in the laws of Moses. And the manna ceased. See that? Let's look at it. Let's go back to what we talked about where you are able to keep the Passover at. He says, they've been wandering. They wandered in the wilderness 40 years. He took Moses up on Mount Nebo and he put Moses to sleep. Then he got Joshua. Now, it says they passed over the Jordan, not in the land of Israel. And the people went up from Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped in Gilead at the eastern corner of Jericho, not in the land. And the children of Israel kept the Passover in Gilead, in the plains of Jericho, on the 14th day of the month, as it is written in the laws of Moses. And the manna ceased. See that? Exact same time. Moab, the manna stopped. They had been getting manna all in 40 years. As soon as they crossed over into the land of Israel, the manna stopped. See that? So it says, and the manna ceased at that time on the morrow of the Passover. And there was no more manna for the children of Israel, and they ate the produce of the land of Canaan. See, they're in the land now. See, and Jericho was entirely closed against the children of Israel. No one came out or came in. And it was in the second month, on the first day of the month, that the Lord said to Joshua, rise up, behold, I have given Jericho into thy hands with all the people thereof, and all your fighting men shall go round about the city, one each day. Thus shall ye do for 6 days. And the priest shall blow upon the trumpet, and when ye shall hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall give a great shouting, and the walls of Jericho, the walls of the city shall fall down, and all the people shall go up, every man against his opponent. And Joshua did so according to all that the Lord had commanded him. And on the 7th day, they went around the city 7 times, and the priest blew upon the trumpets. And at the 7th round, Joshua said to the people, shout, for the Lord has delivered the whole city into thy hands. Only the city and all that it contains shall be accursed to the Lord. And keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make a camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver and the gold and the brass and the iron shall be consecrated to the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. And the people blew upon the trumpet and made a great shouting, and the walls of Jericho fell down, and all the people went up, every man straight before him, and they took the city and utterly destroyed all that was in it, both man and woman, young and old, and the sheep and the ass with the edge of the sword. So let's look at that. So I'm showing you how it went down. He told them to rise up early in the morning. They crossed the Jordan. The manna stopped, kept the Passover, and the Most High, all knowing everything. They're gonna need provisions for the temple, right? For his temple. So look what he say, verse 20. He told them, don't touch nothing. None of this stuff yours. Okay, let that register, let that firmate. He says, ain't none of this stuff, none of it yours, right? You gotta remember that. It says, only the city and all that it contains shall be a curse. Ain't none of it yours. Curse to the Lord. And keep yourselves from it. So the cursed thing is all these spoils, all the booty that's there. It's gold, silver everywhere. He says it's a cursed thing. Lest you make the camp of Israel. If you get any of it, you're gonna make the Israel curse. 20. But all the silver and the gold and the brass and the iron shall be consecrated to me. Come on now. Says they shall come into the treasury of the Lord. Not Israel, not the Israelites. For him. Yeah. And the people blew upon the trumpets and made a great shouting, and the walls of Jericho fell down, and all the people went up, every man straight before him, and they took the city, and they utterly destroyed all that was in it, both man and woman, young and old. See that? Ox, sheep, ass, with the edge of the sword. And they burned the whole city with fire. Only the vessels of silver and the gold and brass and iron they put into the treasury of the Lord. See, Joshua ain't missing no beat. Everything Yahweh telling him, he doing. See that? So, Joshua swore at that time, saying, cursed be the man, see this, who builds Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof in his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates thereof. And Achan, the son of Carmali, and the son of, I can't say his name, Zebzadai, and the son of Zerah, son of Judah, dealt treacherously in the accursed thing. So this dude right here grabbed some of the stuff, right? God, like I say, let it ferment. So he says he grabbed some of it. It ain't none of his, right? It's Yah's. So he took over the accursed thing and hid it in a tent. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. Not against him, against Israel. See that? And it was after this, when the children of Israel had returned from burning Jericho, Joshua sent men to spy also Ai and to fight against it. And the men went up and spied out Ai, and they returned and said, let not all the people go up with thee to Ai, only let about 3,000 men go up and smite the city, for the men thereof be few. And Joshua did so. And there went up with him of the children of Israel about 3,000 men, and they fought against the men of Ai. And the battle was severe against Israel. And the men of Ai smote 36 men of Israel, and the children of Israel fled before the men of Ai. And when Joshua saw this thing, he tore his garment. See that? And he fell upon his face to the ground. See, he doing everything y'all told him to do. See that? So he's saying something ain't right. It's a dead cat on the line. So he says, face the ground before the Lord. And he with the elders of Israel, and they put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, why, O Lord, didst thou bring this people over the Jordan? What shall I say after the Israelites have turned their backs against their enemies? Now, therefore, all the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, will hear this thing and surround us and cut us off. Cut off our name. They're going to cut off right here. There go your definition. See that? Right? And the Lord said to Joshua, why didst thou fall upon thy face? Rise, get thee off, for the Israelites have sinned and taken the accursed thing. And I will see that. He not saying, he not calling the person out. All Israel getting blamed for it. See that? Because you got one dude fumbling with something, all Israel getting blamed for it. See, and taking the accursed thing, and I will no more be with them unless they destroy the accursed thing from among them, right? Now let's keep going. Joshua rose up and assembled the people and brought the Urim by the order. I told you what the Urim was. See, now we're going to find out what is reason for it. The Urim by order of the Lord. And the tribe of Judah was taken. And Achan, the son of Kamali, was taken. And Joshua said to Achan, tell me, my son, what hast thou done? And Achan said, I saw among the spoils a goodly garment of Shinar, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold, and 50 shekels of weight. And I coveted them, and took them, and behold, they are all hid in the earth, in the midst of the tent. And Joshua sent men who went and took them, excuse me, from the tent of Achan, and they brought them to Joshua. And Joshua took Achan, look at this. Joshua took Achan and these utensils, and his sons, look at this. Joshua took Achan and his utensils, and his sons, and his daughters, and all belonging to him, and they brought them into the valley of Achor, and Joshua burned them. See that? We can't do that now. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Joshua burned them with fire. And all Israelites stoned their king with stones. And they raised over him a heap of stones. Therefore did he call that place the Valley of Achor. So the Lord's anger was appeased. And Joshua afterwards came to the city and fought against it. So you got to go back right here. Once you read this right here, you got to go back and regroup. You know? We ain't doing that now. They always talking about the little kids and this person and that. They Yahweh don't do that. He turn the other cheek. They pluck his beard. That's garbage. So 38. And the Lord said to Joshua, fear not, neither be thou dismayed. Behold, I have given unto thy hands Ai, her king, her people, and thou shalt do unto them as thou didst unto Jericho and her king. Only the spoils thereof and the cattle thereof shall you take for a prey for yourselves. Lay an ambush for the city behind them. See, I told you this is a brother dealing with a black man. So the first, they was to Jericho, he said, oh, that's mine. Put it in the treasure because you're going to need it later on. Now they went to Jericho, all that's yours. Everything you get in Jericho, yours. See that? That's what David talking about. He said he never seen this. He be old and now he was young and now he old. He never seen Israel begging for bread. You know what I'm saying? So he commanded them, saying, when ye see us, we will flee before them with cunning, and they shall pursue us. And ye shall then rise out of the ambush and take the city. And they did so. And Joshua fought, and the men of the city went out toward Israel, not knowing that they were lying in ambush for them behind the city. And Joshua and all the Israelites, Joshua and all the Israelites finished themselves, wearied out before them, and they fled by the way of the wilderness with cunning. And the men of Ai gathered all the people who were in the city to pursue the Israelites, and they went out and were drawn away from the city. Not one remained, and they left the city open and to pursue the Israelites. And those who were lying in ambush rose up out of their places and hastened to come to the city and took it and set it on fire. And the men of Ai turned back, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended to the skies, and they had no means of retreating either one way or the other. And all the men of Ai were in the midst of Israel, some were on this side and some on that side, and they smote them, so that no one of them remained. And the children of Israel took Malash, king of Ai, alive, and they brought him to Joshua. And Joshua hanged him on a tree, and he died. And the children of Israel returned to the city after having burned it, and they smote all those that were in it with the edge of the sword. So why are you killing them? They degenerates. They got this Nephilim blood in them, the Canaanites. They degenerates. They ain't originate the same place the Israelites originated from. That killed JC right there. See, he ain't no one blood. So 47. Children of Israel returned to the city after having burned it, and they smote all that were in with the edge of the sword, and the number of those that had fallen of the men of Ai, both man and woman, was 12,000. On the cattle and the spoils of the city they took to themselves, according to the word of the Lord, to Joshua. You got a rod. I told you what a rod was. Joshua the rod. So 49. And all the kings on this side of Jordan, all the kings on Canaan, heard of the evil which the children of Israel had done to Jericho and Ai, and they gathered themselves together to fight against Israel. So you see right here, I'm going to show you something. So say all these giants, when you start talking about kings, it's giants all over Israel. They way more powerful than Israel, but when they did what they did to these two cities, they scared. So you say, well, what you talking about? Well, that's the same thing with this, the rainbow and the gay agenda and the LGBTQ. If Israelites coming like this here, they gonna get shaking in their boots. They ain't got nothing to shake in their boots now because the Israelite can't pass no judgment. So they multiplying. If Israel was in the place where it's supposed to be, you wouldn't see none of them. Wouldn't be no LGTB and all that. It'd be They be out of here. So it says 50. And suck on that, like I say. So 50. Only the inhabitants of Gibeon were greatly afraid of fighting against the Israelites, lest they should perish. So they acted cunningly, and they came to Joshua and to all Israel and said unto them, we have come from a distant land. Now therefore make a covenant with us. And the inhabitants of Gibeon overreached the children of Israel, and the children of Israel made a covenant with them, and they made peace with them. And the princes and the congregation swore unto them. But afterward, the children of Israel knew that they were neighbors to them and were dwelling among them. But the children of Israel slew them not, for they had sworn to them by the Lord, and they became hewers of wood and drawers of war. See, this is where the drama started at. So these people got the same blood as the other people in them, but they tricked them into a covenant. So now they got them helping them. That's what these Neathan is. They helping the priests gather wood for the 3 oblations they have in a day. They gathering the wood and they doing all of this small stuff for the Israelites, but they watching what they doing. See that? So anyway, 53. And Joshua said to them, why did ye deceive me to do this thing to us? And they answered him, saying, because it was told to thy servants all that ye had done to all the kings of the Amorites. And we were greatly afraid of our lives, and we did this thing. And Joshua appointed them on that day to see that, to hew wood and to draw water, and he divided them for slaves to all the children of Israel. See that? And when Adonizak, king of Jerusalem, heard all that the children of Israel had done to Jericho and Ai, he sent to Hanun, king of Hebron, and to Param, king of Jerusalem, I can't say that word, and Japhna, king of Lanquish, and to Deborah, king of Elagon, saying, come up to me and help me, that we may smite the children of Israel and the inhabitants of Gibeon, who have made peace with the children of Israel. And they gathered themselves together, and the 5 kings of the Amorites went up with all their camps, a mighty people, numerous as the sands of the seashore. And all the kings came and encamped before Gibeon, and they began to fight against the inhabitants of Gibeon. And all the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua, saying, come up quickly to us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites are gathered together to fight against us. And Joshua and all his fighting people went up from Gilgal, and Joshua came suddenly to them and smote these 5 kings with a great slaughter. See that? So what you got to understand is these 7 angels with them. Remember, they got each one of them got their favorite weapon. Nobody can see them, but they're the ones doing all the damage. So you got to understand that. 60. So it says, and the Lord confounded them before the children of Israel, who smote them with a terrible slaughter at Gibeon, and pursued them along the way that goes up to Beth Horon unto Mikkedah, and they fled before the children of Israel. And while they were fleeing, the Lord sent upon them hailstones from heaven, and more of them died by hailstone than by the slaughter of the children of Israel. And the children of Israel pursued them, and they still smote them in the road, going on and smiting them. And when they were smiting, the day was declining toward evening. And Joshua said in the sight of all the people, sun, stand still upon Gibeon, and the moon in the valley of Ajalon, until the nation shall have revenged itself upon the enemy. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Joshua, and the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens, and it stood still 6:30 moments, and the moon also stood still, and had hastened not to go down the whole day. And there was no day like that day, because it or after it that the Lord hearkened to the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel, right? So that was Joshua chapter 88. Any questions, comments?
When it came down to the son who sinned and stole, you was doing a really good breakdown before about how that was the breach in Israel, because you was also discussing how we're not supposed to mix, and that was when that son came out of Judah, and the baby had came out but had his arm out, and then got the twins, and the ribbon got on the arm, and then he got sucked back in, and the other baby came out, and it was like, well, how did that happen? And then the lady was like, because it's a breach in Israel, and he ended up being a breach.
Right. But they basically separated the righteous lineage the Most High dealt with, but the other lineage got dealt with. Just like when I showed you how Peleg and Joktan. Peleg is where Abraham came out of. Joktan ended up over in the land of where Nimrod was at. Just like with Moses and Lot. Moses ended up going the way of the Most High, and Lot ended up over in Sodom and Gomorrah. He had to send 2 angels to get him out. And you have to. People don't follow those seed lines, but you have to follow those seed lines, and it's a lot going on with that, and there's a lot of clarity comes out of it. Yeah.
Shalom.
Right. Anybody else?
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom. I was just going to say it just further proves that the Lord of hosts is a God of judgment, whether it's us or whether it's our enemies.
Right.
And when
Exactly.
he sees Israel, he sees us as one. And when
Right.
he tells us not to trust them, I don't care what they do, how they act, how they seem, how they disguise themselves. We shouldn't trust them.
Exactly.
Right.
Either you're gonna believe him or you're gonna bleed him. And then every time they bleed him, they end up in a pickle. Right. And so, like I was saying before, after so long dealing with him, you learn. It become automatic. It might not look the way you want it to look, but he gonna do what he said he gonna do. You just gotta wait it out.
Brother Leonard, that further shows how the New Testament and JC is a hijack, because we wasn't turning the other cheek.
Right.
You know, like Sister Star or Cynthia just said, that, you know, if one of us did something, you know, we all had to take them out.
Right.
Exactly.
That's why I think we have to be so careful now. Right now it's saying, okay, we can't pass judgment, right?
Right.
But you still have to be careful who you deal with, because like you said, all Israel is not Israel. So you got one person doing the most, we all gonna, suffer behind that.
Right. That's what I mean by using tact. And the Most High says, "Be wise as a serpent."
Right.
You see, you looking at them, you see as a serpent, but you ain't got to respond to it. You just keep your distance.
Right.
You ain't got to make no waves. You just know that you know what you know, and you're gonna stick to the plan. You ain't gonna get sideballed by some serpent or some clown. You just keep your distance. You ain't got to make no waves. So I mean, anybody else?
What I had wanted to say is this also show that the Most High don't play. He not want to play. He very scary, and that when we are able to do judgment on the earth, it's going to be a lot of wickedness erased off the earth, and also that it'll be uprightness in the tribe of Israel, and to also show that we are responsible for our neighbor, that we are supposed to be looking out like, hey man, because at the end of the day, if you get in trouble, we all get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So you check your people to make sure that they not doing wrong. It's not that you trying to come down on them, but you is, because if you get a whooping, I get a whooping, everybody get a whooping. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So I'm in chapter 89. Then spake Joshua this song. So this one of the things I was talking about the golden nugget. So did Moses sing a song to the Israelites? Anybody familiar with that?
Sure did. He sang it.
And let's look at it. I'm in the King James. It's going somewhere with this because we familiar with it. So 32, Deuteronomy 32. You gotta let this register. Deuteronomy 32 says 32. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak. and hear, O earth, and the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, and as the small rain upon the tender herb, and all the showers upon the grass, because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe greatness unto our God. He is the rock. His work is perfect. All his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity. Just right is he. They are corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are perverse in the crooked generation. Do ye this requite the Lord, O foolish people, and unwise? Is not thy father that have brought thee? Have he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee the elders, and they will teach thee. And when the Most High divided the earth, let me get where I'm going. Yeah, I know I'm in the right place. But anyway, so no, here you go. It's in verse 30. It's the last verse of 31. Tells you what's going on with 32. 30 says, and Moses spake in the ears of all the congregation of Israel the words of this song. See that? Until they were ended. So he's saying this. Go back and look at what David doing.
Where was that at, Leonard? Where was that at?
30. 31 and 30.
Okay.
So 31 is telling you that everything he's saying over here in 32 is a song. And that's what David doing the same thing. Psalms and songs. So he's singing this. You gotta think about that. So I'm over here now with Joshua. So I told you, we see he's gonna raise up one likened unto Moses, right? So look at this. I'm in chapter 89, verse 1 of Joshua. Then spoke Joshua this song. See that? On the day that the Lord had given the Amorites into the, so he said he happy. He got rid of Amorites was gave Israel hell for a long time. So when the Most High got rid of them, he sung this song. He says, and the Lord has given the Amorites to the hands of Joshua, children of Israel. And he said in the sight of all Israel, thou hast done mighty things, O Lord. Thou hast performed great deeds. Who is likened unto thee? My lips shall sing, see that? To thy name, my goodness and my fortress, my high tower. I will sing a new song unto thee. With thanksgiving will I sing to thee. Thou art strength of my salvation. All the kings of the earth shall praise thee. The princes of the world shall sing to thee. The children of Israel shall rejoice in thy salvation. They shall sing and praise thy power. To thee, O Lord, did we confide. We said, thou art our God. For thou was our shelter and our strong tower against our enemies. To thee we cried and were not ashamed. In thee we trusted and were delivered. When we cried unto thee, thou didst hear our voice. They didst deliver our soul from the sword. Thou didst show unto us thy grace. Thou didst give unto us thy salvation. Thou didst rejoice our hearts with thy strength. Thou didst go forth for our salvation. With thine arm thou didst redeem thy people. Thou didst answer us from the heavens of thy holiness, and thou didst save us from 10,000 people. The sun and the moon stood still in the heavens, and thou didst stand in thy wrath against our oppressors, and didst command thy judgments over them. All the princes of the earth stood up. The kings of the nations had gathered themselves together. They were not moved by the presence. They desired thy battles. Thou didst rise against them in thine anger, and didst bring down thy wrath upon them, that thou didst destroy them in thine anger, and cut them off in thine heart. Nations have been consumed with thy fury. Kingdoms have declined because of thy wrath. Thou didst wound kings in the day of thine anger. Thou didst pour out thy fury upon them. The wrathful anger took hold of them. Thou didst turn thy iniquity upon them, and did cut them off in their wickedness. They did spread a trap. They fell therein in the net they hid. Their foot was caught. Thine hand was ready for all thy enemies who said, through their sword they possessed the land. Through their arm they dwelt in the city. They did fill their faces with shame. They did bring their horns down with the ground. Thou didst terrify them in thy wrath, and didst destroy them in thine anger. The earth trembled and shook at the sound of the storm over them. Thou didst not withhold thy soul from death, and didst bring down their lives to the grave. Thou didst pursue them in thy storm. Thou didst consume them in the whirlwind. Thou didst turn their reign into hell. They fell in deep pits so that they could not rise. Their carcasses were like rubbish cast out in the middle of the streets. They were consumed and destroyed in thine anger. Thou didst save thy people with thy might. So look at this here. You might want to tie your shoes up on this. So it says right here, 14. Thy hand was ready. So they're showing you right here, this is literal, that these Amorites hate Israelites. I told you these Amorites, the ones got the long necks, right? So they hate Israelites. They hate Adam's descendants. So the Lord of hosts showed up. When he got all these different kings, this big old massive army to knock the Israelites off. The same way they're gonna do in Ezekiel 38. So he showed up right here. He's gonna show up in Ezekiel 38 once you know the story. Thinking like a Hebrew. So he showed up. So he ain't talking about this ain't some symbology or something. He's telling them they start singing because he showed up and knocked all of them off. So let's look at it though. 14. Thy hand was ready for all thy enemies who said, through their sword they possessed the land. Through their arm they dwelt in the city. Thou didst fill their faces with shame. Thou didst bring their horns down to the ground. Thou didst terrify them in thy wrath, and didst destroy them in their anger. So let's look at that. See, thou didst bring their horns down to the ground. Well, and it's 10 horns in the fourth beast.
Right.
Okay, I want to remind you of that. So 15, the earth trembled and shook at the sound of thy storm over them. Thou didst withhold their soul from death. Thou didst bring down their lives to the grave. You're killing all of them. Now, watch this. Thou didst pursue them in the storm. Look at this. Thou didst pursue them in the storm. Thou didst consume them in the whirlwind. Now let's go look at the whirlwind. Come on. We're going to get this. We're going to get it right. This is what these Edomites indeed does. Look at this. I'm in Ezekiel. Okay. I'm in Ezekiel. We're going all the way in. I'm in Ezekiel 1, chapter 1. So, Ezekiel by the river, Tabor, verse 1. Now, it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Tabor, that the heavens were open. And I saw a vision of God, right? And it says, in the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity, the word of the Lord came especially on Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Tabor, and the hand of the Lord was upon him, right? Now watch this. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind. See that? He just told you over here. It's a whirlwind came, showed up, knocked all these Canaanites off, these giants and these Amorites. A whirlwind showed up. Well, what's in the whirlwind? Let's look at it. 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, a fire enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof was a color of amber, and out of the midst of the fire, also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. Come on. And this was their appearance and their likeness, likeness of a man. And everyone had 4 faces. This Gabriel, Michael, them. Go to verse 24. 24. And when they went up, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, at the voice of our Almighty, the voice of speech, and the noise of a host. See that? A host. Elohim. That's why I'm telling you, you can't use Elohim replace that with Lord. Elohim is more than one. And here it is right here. It says, and it wings like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty is the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. See that? 7 of them. 4 of them there, but when they came to in the whirlwind to get rid of these Amorites, all of them there, just like on Mount Sinai. So he says, as the noise of a host, when they stood, they let down their wings. So we ain't finished yet though. I'm gonna show you. You got to look at the whole picture. It says, and there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood, and I had let down their wings. See that? It says, and above the firmament that was over their heads was a likeness of a throne, and an appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was a likeness and appearance of a man on above it. So in this whirlwind, all of them there, and Yahweh. Come on. We ain't gonna fumble with it. Let me get back over here. So they all in the whirlwind. So I'm back over here in 89 and verse.
No, that right there, that's a jewel.
Oh yeah.
I never knew about that whirlwind.
Oh yeah. So 15 says the earth trembled and shook. See, now we know why the earth trembling and shaking. They all of them there. And the sound of the storm over them. And let me see where I was at. We get this whirlwind. Yeah, okay. And thou didst not withhold thy soul from death, and thou didst bring their lives to the grave. Thou didst pursue them. See that? In the storm. Thou didst consume them in thy whirlwind. We just saw in the whirlwind. Thou didst turn the rain and the hail. They fell in the deep pits so that they could not rise. Their carcasses were like rubbish cast out of the middle of the streets. They were consumed and destroyed in thine anger, and thou didst save thy people with thy might. So they running. They see this whirlwind, they running. And you knocking them out. See that? They looking at that. 19. Therefore our hearts rejoice. They rejoicing. Our soul exalted in thy salvation. See that? Salvation. JC ain't nowhere around. Our tongue shall relate thy might. We will sing and praise the wondrous works. For thou didst save us from our enemies. See that? Thou didst deliver us from those who rose up against us. So this ain't no symbology. You know what I'm saying? That's what we fumbling with. So he said, thou didst save us from our enemies. Thou didst deliver us from those who rose up against us. They did destroy them from before us and depress them beneath our feet. Thus shall all my enemies perish, O Lord, and the wicked shall be like chaff driven by the wind, and thy beloved shall be like trees planted by the waters. So Joshua and all Israel with him returned to the camp of Gilead after having smitten all the kings, so that not a remnant was left of them. And the 5 kings fled along on foot from battle and hid themselves in caves. And Joshua sought for them in the field of the battle and did find them. And it was afterwards told to Joshua, saying, the kings are found, and behold, they are hidden in the cave. And Joshua said, appoint men to be at the mouth of the cave and guard them, lest they take themselves away. And the children of Israel did so. Joshua called to all Israel and said to the officers of battle, place your feet upon the necks of these kings. And Joshua said, so shall the Lord do to all your enemies. And Joshua commanded afterwards that they should slay the kings, cast them into the cave, and put great stones at the mouth of the cave. That's what they did to their forefathers. Then he tell them, put them in the earth and cover them with stones? Azael and all them? Hello? Hello?
Right.
Yeah. So he sent Michael, Gabriel, Raphael to go and bind the 200. He said, place them in the earth and cover their faces where they can't see, and put them in darkness and cover their faces so they can't see no light. They're doing the same thing right here. 30. And he utterly destroyed the souls and all belonging to the city, and he did to the kings and the people thereof as he had done to Jericho. And he passed from there to Litna, and he fought against it, and the Lord delivered it into his hands. Joshua smote it with the edge of a sword, and all the souls thereof, and he did it, and the kings thereof as he had done to Jericho. And from there he passed to Lachish, to fight against it. And Horam, king of the Gaza, went up to assist the men of Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people until there was not none left of him. Joshua took Lachish and all the people thereof, and he did as he had done to Libnah. That's when Joshua passed from there to Eglon, and he took that also, and he smote it and all the people thereof with the edge of a sword. And from thence he passed to Hebron and fought against it, and took it, utterly destroyed it. And he returned from there with all Israel to Deborah and fought against it and smote it with the edge of the sword. So when you go back and do your research, all these cities are Israelite cities, but they was Canaanite cities at first. The Israelite cities now. It says, and he destroyed every soul in it, and he left none remaining. And he did to it as the kings thereof had done to Jericho. Joshua smote all the kings of the Amorites from Kadesh Barnea to Azza, and he took their country at once, for the Lord had fought for Israel. And Joshua with all Israel came to the camp of Gilgal. When at that time Jabin, king of Chazar, heard all that Joshua had done to the kings of the Amorites, Jabin sent to Jabal, king of Midian, and to the Laban, king of Shiran, and I can't say these names, says it, and to all the kings of the Amorites, saying, come quickly to us and help us, that we might smite the children of Israel before they come upon us and do unto us as they have done to the other kings of the Amorites. And all these kings hearkened to the words of Jabin, king of Chazar, and they went forth with all their camps, 17 kings, and their people were as numerous as the sands of the sea, together with horses, chariots, and innumerable. And they came and pitched together at the waters of Merom, and they were met together to fight against Israel. And the Lord said to Joshua, fear them not, for tomorrow about this time I will deliver them up, all slain before you. Thou shalt hew their horses and burn their chariots with fire. And Joshua with all the men of war came suddenly upon them and smote them, and they fell into their hands, for the Lord had delivered them into the hands of the children of Israel. So the children of Israel pursued all these kings with their camps and smote them until there was none left of them. Joshua did to them as the Lord had spoken to him. And Joshua returned at that time to Chazar and smote it with a sword and destroyed every soul in it and burned it with fire. And from Chazar, Joshua passed to Shimron and smote it and utterly destroyed it. From there he passed to Asher, and he did to it as he had done to Shimron, and from there he passed to Adam, and he smote all the people in it, and he did to Adam as he had done to Asher and the Sherem, and he passed from them to all the cities of the kings which he had smitten, and he smote all the people that was left of them, and he utterly destroyed them. Only their booty and the cattle the Israelites took to themselves as a prey, but every man being they small, they suffered not a soul to live. And the Lord had commanded Moses. So did Joshua, all Israel. They fell not in anything. See this? They fell not in anything. So I told you the lie they tell us that they couldn't keep the law and they couldn't do, that's why JC had come. So we're gonna keep going. So Joshua and all Israel smote the whole land of Canaan as the Lord had commanded them, and smote all the kings, being 31 kings, and the giants, right? And the children of Israel took their whole country, besides the kingdoms of Shihon and Og, which are on the other side of Jordan, of which Moses had smitten many cities, and Moses gave them to the Reubenites and to the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh. And Joshua smote all the kings that were on this side of the Jordan to the west, and gave them for an inheritance to the 9 tribes and the half tribe of Israel. For 5 years did Joshua carry on war with these kings, and he gave their cities to the Israelites, and the land became tranquil. See that? So now it's peace. The land became tranquil from battles throughout the cities of the Amorites and the Canaanites. See, at that time, in the 5th year, after the children of Israel had passed over the Jordan, after the children of Israel had rested, see that? from all their war with the Canaanites. At that time, great and severe battles arose between Edom and the children of Chechem. And the children of Chechem fought against Edom. And Abanus, king of Chechem, went forth in that year, that is in the 31st year of his reign, and a great force with him of the mighty men of the children of Chechem. And he went to the Seir and fought against the children of Esau. And Hadad, king of Edom, heard of this report, and he went forth to meet him with a heavy people and a strong force, and engaged in battle with him in the fields of Edom. And the hand of Chechem prevailed over the children of Esau, and the children of Chechem slew the children of Esau, 22,000 men, and all the children of Esau fled before them. And the children of Chechem pursued them, and they reached Hadad, king of Edom, who was running before them, and they fought him, and they caught him alive, and brought him to Abanus, king of Chechem. And Abanus ordered him to be slain. And Hadad, king of Edom, died in the 48th year of his reign. And the children of Chechem continued to pursue the pursuit of Edom, and they smote them with a great slaughter. And Edom became subject to the children of Chechem. So these children of Chechem is the Romans. So you got to understand all this stuff right here. You can't just jump up and get into a conversation and don't know what's going on. So 8, and the children of Chechem ruled over Edom. And Edom became under the hands of the children of Chechem and became one kingdom from that day. See that? So we just identified the 4th beast is the Romans, but it's got 10 heads on it, 10 horns. Okay? So Abanus placed officers in Edom, and all the children of Edom became subject to the tributaries of Abanus. And Abanus turned back to his own land, the Chechem. And when he returned, he renewed his government and built for himself spacious and fortified palace for a royal residence. And he reigned securely over the children of Chechem and over Edom. In those days, after the children of Israel had driven away all the Canaanites and the Amorites, Joshua was old and advanced in years. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Thou art advanced in life, a great part of the land remains to be possessed. Now therefore divide," look at this, "now therefore divide this land for an inheritance to the 9 tribes, to the half tribe of Manasseh." Joshua rose up and did as the Lord had spoken to him, and he divided the whole land to the tribes of Israel as an inheritance according to their division. But the tribe of Levi, he gave no inheritance. The offerings of the Lord are their inheritance. See that? Let's go back. This is how you write and divide servant and servant. But to the tribe of Levi, he gave no inheritance. The offerings of the Lord are their inheritance. Like I said, they connected at the hip with the offerings, with the rams and the he goats and all that. And we don't have them now. So he says, as the Lord has spoken to them by the hands of Moses. Joshua gave Mount Horeb to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, one portion above his brethren, as the Lord had spoken through Moses. Therefore, Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb and his children unto this day. And Joshua divided the whole land by lots. See that? To all Israel for inheritance, as the Lord had commanded him. Right? And the children of Israel gave cities to the Levites from their own inheritance, and suburbs for their cattle and property, as the Lord had commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel, and they divided the land by lot, great, whether great or small. And they went to inherit the land according to the boundaries. And the children of Israel gave Joshua, the son of Nun, an inheritance among them. By the word of the Lord did they give to him the city which he required, Timah Sirach, in Mount Ephraim, and he built a city and dwelt therein. These are inheritance which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the heads of the fathers of the tribes portioned out to the children of Israel by lot in Shiloh. Read it again. These are the inheritance which Eleazar the priest of Joshua son of Nun and the heads of the elders of the tribes of portioned out to the children of Israel by lot in Shiloh before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle. They left off dividing the land, and the Lord gave the land to the Israelites, and they possessed it as the Lord had spoken to them, and the Lord had sworn to their ancestors. And the Lord gave to the Israelites, look at this, here we go. The Lord gave to the Israelites rest from all their enemies round about, and no man stood up against them, and the Lord delivered all their enemies into their hands, and no one thing fell of all good which the Lord had spoken to the children of Israel. Yea, the Lord performed everything. And Joshua called to all the children of Israel, and he blessed them and commanded them to serve the Lord. And he afterwards sent them away, and they went every man to his city, and each man to his inheritance. And the children of Israel, look at this, and the children of Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua. See that? Well, that's a lie from the pits of hell. But they couldn't keep the law. And the children of Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua. And the Lord gave them rest from all around them, and they dwelt securely in their cities. Ain't that the same thing going to happen in Ezekiel 38? We're going to be at rest.
Yes.
That's when they're going to come up and try to do the same thing they're doing right here. Ain't nothing new under the sun. It's 28. I'm going to stop at 90, in the 90. So it says, and it came to pass in those days that Abanus, king of Chittim, died in the 39th year of his reign, that is, in the 7th year of his reign over Edom, and they buried him in a place which he had built for himself. And Litmus reigned in his stead 50 years. And during his reign, he brought forth an army, and he went to fight against the inhabitants of Britannica. See that? He got one of the 10 horns from the 4 beasts. Britannica, that's Britain, and Carmenia, the children of Elisha, son of Javan, and he prevailed over them and smote them and made them tributaries. And he then heard that Edom had revolted from under the hands of Checham, and Language went to them and smote them and subdued them and placed them under the hands of the children of Checham. Edom became one kingdom, the children of Checham, all their days. And for many years, there was no king in Edom, and their government was with the children of Checham and their king. And it was in the 26th year after the children of Israel had passed the Jordan, that in the 66th year after the children of Israel had departed from Egypt, that Joshua was old, advanced in years, being 108 8 years old in those days. Joshua called all Israel to their elders, to their judges and officers, after the Lord had given to all Israel rest from all their enemies round about. And Joshua said to the elders of Israel and to their judges, behold, I am old, advanced in years, and ye have seen what the Lord hath done to all the nations whom ye have driven away from before you, for it is the Lord who hath fought for you. Now therefore strengthen yourselves to keep and do all the words of the law of Moses, not to deviate from it to the right hand or to the left, and not to come amongst those nations who are left in the land. Neither shall ye make mention of the name of their God. See that? Lowercase. Els, angels. But ye shall cleave to the Lord your God as you have done to this day. So he's telling you right there, they cleaved to him the whole time Joshua was there. He was keeping the law, wasn't nobody sinning. So that kills this story with JC. So 35. And Joshua greatly exalted the children of Israel to serve the Lord all their days. And all the Israelites said, we will serve the Lord our God all our days, we and our children's children, and our seed forever. And Joshua made a covenant with the people on that day, and he sent away the children of Israel, and they went each man to his inheritance and to his city. And it was in those days when the children of Israel was there. Look at this. And it was in those days when the children of Israel was dwelling securely in their cities that they buried. Look at this. I told you about the coffins and about what Nehemiah said. So, and then we see where when they left, they had all those coffins. So the whole time they in the wilderness in 40 years, the whole time they're traveling, they got these coffins. So this after Joshua died, 38. And it was in those days, right when Joshua died, when the children of Israel dwelling securely in their cities, that they buried the coffins. See that? So this justifying Ezekiel 37. They buried the coffins of the tribes of their ancestors, which they had brought up out of Egypt. See that? They don't tell you that. Each man in his inheritance of his children. And the 12 sons of Jacob did the children of Israel bury. Each man in his possession of his children. And those are the names of the cities where, look here, even gonna tell you where they buried it. These are the names of the cities wherein they buried the 12 sons of Jacob, whom the children of Israel had brought up out of Egypt. And they buried Reuben and Gad on this side of the Jordan. See that? We need to know this in Rimlah, which Moses had given to his their children. And Simeon and Levi they buried in the cities of Muda, I can't say that name, which had given to the children of Simeon. And the suburbs of the city were for the children of Lot. And Judah they buried in the city of Benjamin, opposite Bethlehem. See that? And the bones of Issachar and Zebulun they buried in Zidon, in the portion which fell to their children. And Dan was buried in the city of the children of Esther. And Naphtali and Asher they buried in Kedash. Naphtali, each man in the place which he had given to his children. And the bones of Joseph they buried in Shechem. So Joseph told him, take my bones with you when you go. Now we know why. Said, in the part of the field which Jacob had purchased for Hamor, which became to Joseph for inheritance. And they buried Benjamin in Jerusalem, opposite of Jebusites, which were given to the children of Benjamin. The children of Israel buried their fathers, each man in the city of his children. And at the end of 2 years, Joshua the son of Nun died, 110 years old. And the time which Joshua judged Israel was 28 years. And Israel served the Lord. See that? All the days of his life. See that? And Israel served the Lord all the days of his life. They kept the law. See that? It says 48. And the other affairs of Joshua and his battles and his reproofs, which he reproved Israel and all which he had commanded them, the names of the cities which the children of Israel possessed in those days, behold, they are written in the book of the words of Joshua to the children of Israel, and in the book of the wars of the Lord, which Moses and Joshua and the children of Israel had written. And the children of Israel buried Joshua in the borders of his inheritance in Timah Sirach, which was given to him in Mount Ephraim. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron, died in those days, and they buried him in the hill belonging to Phinehas, his son, which was given to him on Mount Ephraim. See that? So let's look at something again. We're going to close out. So now, like I was saying before, something wrong with you. You thinking them books ain't relevant. So I'm over here, and based on what I just read, let me get it. Ezekiel. So most I got a question over here in Ezekiel 37. We're gonna answer that question right quick. So I'm in Ezekiel 37, verse 1. And the hand of the Lord was upon me, carried me out in the spirit of the Lord, set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. See that? Now we know what bones he's talking about. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there was very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest. See that? Now we know what he's talking about. Edomites had us all tilted. Now we know what he's talking about. Okay? And yeah, the bones can live. Okay, so I'm gonna open that up for some. Anybody want to got any comments or questions before we get out of here? I kind of went over a little bit.
About where it says the book of the wars of the Lord.
Right.
Have you heard of that book?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I was looking on Amazon, and they're all there. I remember like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was looking for those books, and they wasn't there. Well, matter of fact, they was there, but they was written in every language except English. And I was looking a couple of weeks ago, I came across them, and they all was there in English. So that's what I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row to get them.
Okay. Are they?
Yeah, Gad. The book of Gad. Yeah. When you understand who Gad is, you trying to jump over the World Trade Center to get that book. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I'm working on. I'm getting them used. They like, I think they're 20-something new, but the used ones was $7. So it don't matter if they have some markings on them, as long as I got a possession of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I need that link.
Right. So everybody good? No
Yes,
question
sir.
coming? What's that? Okay. So everybody good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me hit this right quick. Did you get anybody get anything out of that?
Oh, yes. I learned something.
Yes.
Okay.
It was good, man. That was good.
That
Okay.
whirlwind is fire.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna hit this lion. Yeah. I'll see everybody tomorrow at it's 8 o'clock. I think 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Shalom.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, everybody.